The morning after my wedding, I woke up thinking my life had finally clicked into place. My name is Hannah Mercer. I was 32, a school teacher, and I'd been Mrs. Logan Pierce for less than a day. Sunlight was pouring into our bedroom. Logan was still asleep beside me, one arm flung across the sheets, breathing slow and steady. He looked utterly at peace. I slipped out quietly, made tea, and sliced a small piece of leftover wedding cake. I remember smiling to myself, the word husband still foreign on my tongue. Then my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello. Miss Mercer," a man's voice asked. "This is Thomas Hale. I manage the Heritage Bistro. We hosted your wedding last night." I smiled, relieved. "Yes, thank you again. Everything was perfect." There was a pause. Long enough for my stomach to knot. "That's not why I'm calling," he said. "We reviewed our security footage this morning. What we found involves your wedding." My heart stuttered. "Involves how?" "I can't explain over the phone, Miss Mercer. You need to come see it in person. Today." He lowered his voice. "Please come alone. And don't say a word to your husband." Behind me, the shower turned on. Logan was awake. And in that instant, my perfect new marriage split right down the middle. Before that call, I was certain I knew the man I'd married. Logan Pierce entered my life softly, almost gently. We met 6 months earlier in a small downtown bookstore. I was hunting for a teaching guide. He was flipping through car magazines, grease still under his fingernails, wearing a shy, honest smile. He offered to reach a book on the top shelf. We started talking. It felt easy. Natural. Like two adults done with games. Logan listened. He remembered details. He asked about my students, my parents, my day. He brought me coffee at school when I graded papers late. When I was tired, he noticed. When I was stressed, he showed up. After years alone, that attention felt like warmth after a long winter. He never rushed me physically. Instead, he talked about the future. Stability. Wanting something real. One night, barely a month in, he said he was serious about me. That he didn't want to waste time pretending. My parents were cautious. My friends were surprised. 6 months felt fast. But with Logan, everything felt calm. Predictable. Safe. He didn't drink much. He worked hard as a mechanic. He said he wanted a simple life. A wife. A home. I believed him. I believed love could arrive quietly, without drama. I believed I'd finally chosen right. That belief made what came next unbearable. Our wedding night looked exactly like happiness should. We'd chosen the Heritage Bistro for its warmth. No grand ballroom. Just close friends, family, and soft lights in a quiet courtyard. About 40 guests. My parents. Logan's parents. Co-workers, his friends from the shop, my bridesmaids, including Vanessa Reed, a friend since college. When my father walked me down the aisle, his hands trembled. He whispered I looked beautiful, that he was proud. I bit my lip to keep from crying. Then I saw Logan at the front, tall in his navy suit, his eyes locked on me like I was the only person there. He smiled like a man deeply in love. The ceremony was simple. The vows, heartfelt. When he slid the ring on, he squeezed my hand and whispered he'd always protect me. During our first dance, he pulled me close and said he was the happiest man alive. People recorded on their phones. Someone wiped away tears. It felt like a moment meant to last. But there were small things I ignored. Vanessa laughed too loudly. She touched Logan's arm when she spoke. At one point, she wrapped her arms around his shoulders and joked he was lucky to have me. I noticed, but brushed it off. Vanessa had always been that way, confident, physical. I told myself I was being a silly, emotional bride. Later, dancing with my father, Logan stepped away. He said he needed to take a work call outside. I didn't question it. Why would I? That night, surrounded by smiles, I believed I was the luckiest woman in the room. I didn't know something ugly was already hiding in the shadows. The apartment we returned to was mine. A modest 2-bedroom condo I'd inherited from my grandmother 3 years prior. She was a bookkeeper, careful with every dollar. Before she passed, she made me promise never to sell it. "This place is your safety," she'd said. "No matter what, you'll always have a roof." I kept that promise. I renovated slowly. It felt like home, because it was built with patience. Logan used to say that's what he loved most, that it felt real, honest, like a place for a family. Before we married, he rented a tiny studio. He said it was temporary, that he was saving. So when we discussed living together, it felt practical. Why waste rent when we had a place? I believed marriage meant sharing everything: trust, space, life. What I didn't understand then was that I wasn't bringing just love into the marriage. I was bringing security. And to the wrong person, security looks a lot like opportunity. I drove to the restaurant with my hands shaking. The bistro was closed. The lot was empty. The warmth from the night before was gone, replaced by the sharp smell of cleaner. Mr. Hale met me at the door, looking tired. "You should sit down before you see this," he said quietly. That's when fear truly settled in my chest. He led me to a small office. A laptop sat open, paused on a black and white image. "I debated calling," he said. "But if this were my daughter, I'd want someone to tell her." He pressed play. The video showed a storage room. Shelves, boxes, a small couch. The timestamp read 9:43 p.m. That was when I'd been dancing with my father. The door opened. Vanessa walked in first, glancing behind her. Then Logan followed. My Logan. He closed the door. My breath left my body like I'd been punched. Vanessa said something, placed her hands on his chest. He wrapped his arms around her waist. They kissed. Not a mistake. A long, deliberate kiss. The kind shared by people who've done this before. My ears rang. They sat on the couch. She handed him a cigarette. They laughed, relaxed. Like this was normal. Like I didn't exist. I whispered it had to be a misunderstanding. Mr. Hale said nothing. Then he reached for the volume. "I'm turning the sound on now," he said gently. And that's when my marriage truly ended. With the sound on, there was no room for denial. At first, their voices were low, casual. Vanessa laughed, said pretending to be my friend made her sick. Logan chuckled, told her to relax, that everything was going as planned. Planned. That word echoed. Vanessa asked how much longer they had to keep up the act, when he'd finally divorce me. Logan answered calmly, like he was explaining a schedule. He said first I'd sign the condo over to him. That he'd already planted the idea, joint ownership, equality in marriage. Words he knew I believed. He laughed, called me trusting. Said I'd walk into the county office myself within weeks. My hands clenched. Vanessa asked what happened after the divorce. Logan said the condo would stay his. They'd sell it, buy something better, live off the rest. Then he said the sentence that broke something deep inside me. He said marrying a teacher was easy. That I was lonely, predictable, grateful for attention. He said I was boring. They laughed together. They talked about my life like it was a problem to be solved. I realized then that none of it was real. Not the bookstore, not the late talks, not the vows. I was never his wife. I was his plan. When the video ended, the room was silent. I sat staring at the screen, feeling something shift inside. The tears stopped. In their place came something colder. Clearer. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I understood one thing with terrifying certainty: they thought I was weak. And they were wrong. I left the restaurant not knowing how my body was still moving. The flash drive felt heavy in my pocket. It carried the truth. And the truth burned. I didn't go home. I drove to my parents' apartment. My mother opened the door and knew instantly. My father stood the moment he saw my face. When I showed them the recording, my mother cried. My father's hands shook with anger. He wanted to confront Logan, to make him pay. I stopped him. If I faced Logan now, I knew what would happen. He'd lie. He'd cry. He'd apologize and promise to change. Men like him always have words ready. And for a moment, I might doubt myself. I wouldn't give him that chance. That night, at my parents' kitchen table, something inside me settled. The pain was there, but it was no longer in control. I realized I didn't want a private apology. I wanted the truth in the open. I wanted Logan and Vanessa to feel what I had felt. Exposed. Powerless. Seen. That's when the plan formed. Quietly. Carefully. I was done being the woman people underestimated. The plan was simple, that's what made it work. People sometimes host a second celebration after a wedding. A casual night to relax. No one would find it strange. I told Logan I wanted to thank everyone properly. That the wedding night had gone too fast. That I wanted one more evening with the people we loved. He didn't hesitate. Of course, he said. You're always thoughtful like that. Those words almost made me laugh. I contacted the restaurant. Mr. Hale agreed to help. We booked the same room. The same tables. A light buffet. Drinks. Just enough to gather everyone. Then I called the guests. Friends. Family. Co-workers. Logan's parents. His friends. Everyone sounded happy. Vanessa was especially enthusiastic, joking I was the perfect wife. I smiled while she spoke. Logan never suspected. He kissed my cheek, made weekend plans, talked about our future like it was still real. I watched him, the ease of his lies. I understood something important. If I'd confronted him privately, he'd have twisted the story. But this time, there'd be no room to hide. By the time Saturday arrived, everything was ready. All I had to do was show up and let the truth speak. The restaurant filled quickly. By 7, every table was full. Laughter floated. Glasses clinked. People congratulated us again, smiling like nothing was wrong. Logan sat at the center table, relaxed, telling shop stories. Vanessa arrived late, dressed to be noticed, slipping into a chair beside him like she belonged. I watched them from across the room, my heart steady in a way that surprised me. When everyone had settled, I walked to the front. A screen stood behind me, blank. I thanked everyone, said how grateful I was. Logan smiled, proud. Then I said I wanted to share a short video from our wedding night, something the staff had found. I nodded to the manager. The screen lit up. At first, people leaned in with interest. Then the storage room appeared. Vanessa walked in. Logan followed. The kiss happened. A sharp gasp rippled through the room. Someone dropped a fork. Logan stood up so fast his chair scraped. "What is this?" he shouted. "Turn it off." No one moved. The sound came on. Vanessa's voice filled the room, complaining about pretending. Logan's voice followed, calm, explaining the plan. Faces changed as the words sank in. Shock turned to disbelief, then anger. Logan's mother covered her mouth. His father stared like he didn't recognize his own son. Vanessa tried to stand, but no one looked at her with sympathy. The room was silent except for the truth. And it was loud enough to destroy everything. When the video ended, no one spoke. The screen went dark, but the damage was done. Logan stood frozen, his face drained of color. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I stepped forward and removed my ring. I placed it on the table in front of him. "This marriage is over," I said calmly. "I'm filing for divorce on Monday." He reached for my hand, panic breaking through. "Hannah, wait, I can explain." I pulled away. "You planned to steal my home. You lied to my face. You humiliated me. There's nothing left to explain." I turned to Vanessa. "You were my friend. You stood beside me at my wedding, and you laughed while you planned to destroy my life." She looked around, desperate. No one defended her. Logan's father stepped forward. He told him to leave, to pack his things and get out of my home that night. Logan didn't argue. He couldn't. As he walked toward the door, people moved aside like he carried something poisonous. I watched him go and felt something unexpected, relief. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just clean and final. For the first time in days, I could breathe. Logan was gone before midnight. When I returned to the condo with my parents, his shoes were missing, his closet empty, the bathroom shelf bare. It was strange how quickly someone could erase himself from a life he'd claimed to want forever. The next few days blurred. I stayed with my parents. They didn't push. They just stayed close. On Monday, I went to work. My students ran toward me like always, eager to show drawings and spelling tests. Their voices grounded me in something real. Life didn't stop because my marriage had ended. Logan didn't fight the divorce. He signed the papers without a word. The condo remained mine. Friends checked in. Some apologized for not seeing signs. Others simply listened. At night, the apartment was quiet, too quiet at first. But slowly, the silence stopped feeling lonely. It began to feel peaceful. I realized something important during those weeks. The hardest part wasn't losing a husband. It was losing the illusion I'd trusted. And once that illusion was gone, everything else became lighter. Time didn't erase what happened, but it changed how it lived inside me. I learned that kindness without boundaries invites the wrong people. I learned being calm doesn't mean being weak. I learned silence is only powerful when it's chosen. For a long time, I believed strength had to be loud. I was wrong. Strength can be quiet. It can be patient. It can wait until the truth has nowhere left to hide. Logan thought my trust made me easy to use. Vanessa thought my kindness made me blind. What they didn't understand was that I was watching. Learning. Deciding. I didn't need revenge fueled by rage. I needed honesty placed in the open. That truth protected my home, my future, my sense of self. If you're listening and you feel underestimated, remember this: being underestimated gives you time. And time gives you power. Today, I live alone again. For the first time in a long while, that feels right. My home is still mine. My life is quieter, more intentional, more honest. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm simply awake. What happened to me didn't break me. It clarified me. If this story reached you, maybe you needed to hear it. Maybe you're questioning someone, or doubting yourself, or standing at the edge of a decision. Trust yourself. Pay attention to actions. Never ignore that quiet voice inside. If you found this story meaningful, support the channel with a like. Share it with someone who might need it. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what this story made you think about. 2 more life stories are waiting for you on the screen. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.